Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another AFL Fantasy Fanatics Round 16 review. We are recording live on Sunday, the 29th of June, after completion of Round 16. So the buys are done and dusted, and we move to the run home as we look towards the best 22 again. Back to two trades, which I know that we were getting comfy with our three trades a week, but we do move back to two. I'm your host, Bales, and you can find me at BAILSDT across the socials. And joining me is a couple of my co-hosts and fellow AFL Fantasy Fanatics. I start off with good old Guesty, mate. How are you?
Good, mate. How are you?
Good, mate. Good. How was the weekend?
Mate, I had a mate here from Melbourne, so I had a pretty busy weekend hanging out with him, playing golf, going out for dinner, all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, there was actually very little footy, so I'm just here for the comedic relief tonight, not the any fantasy nous.
Oh, beautiful, mate. No, great to have you on board. And joining us again is one of our other co-hosts, fellow AFL Fantasy Fanatics, is Jordy DeSena. Jordy, mate, how are you? How was your weekend?
Yeah, good, mate. Good weekend. Did 4 gigs, but I also got to see a lot of footy as well. So, yeah, very happy. Good balance. So, yeah, keen to chat as always.
Yeah, well, we'll go straight into that and we'll say how our round 16 went. So, Joe, we'll start with you, mate. What was your score? What was your round rank and your overall rank?
So, my score was 1906. So, just that Luke Jackson unicorn goal just at the end there. Just
how was that mark?
Yeah, that was awesome. And yeah, 1906, it's put me into rank 157. So I was 227 last week. So that's, put me up. What is that? 60 spots or so. So that's really good. And my round 16 rank was 607. So pretty good in the top 1,000 there. So yeah, very happy with that this week. Especially after Whitfield C last week.
Yeah, exactly. And then you're obviously 157th, so just outside the top 150 in the run home. Obviously, you're very much in the mix, mate. So nicely done there. Guesty, mate, what was your score, your round rank and your overall rank?
Yeah, not a great week. 1779. Round rank was about 12,500. And overall rank, I actually climbed a little bit, so I don't think it was much. It was a couple hundred spots or something like that. But I'm now like 5,362.
Yeah, beautiful. Nicely done, mate. Okay, I haven't told the boys what I've scored. We have had an all-timer. This is a story of redemption, resilience, perseverance, any other word you can think of. That is what this round is. I scored a 1959. Round rank of 51, my best ever week in fantasy.
That's massive.
And we're up 2,793 spots, up to 5,341, and top 1,000 is back on the goddamn table.
Bales.
We are back in a big way. I cannot believe in my worst ever year is when I decide to pull this out of my ass. That's what's happened. I haven't planned this. This has just been a lot of luck. But in a bad year, I'll definitely take it. So very, very happy there. Yeah, we'll go to plus and minus threes. Jordy, we'll go to you, mate. Who's your plus and minus three for the weekend?
One sec. I'm going to give my plus three to Miles Bergman, for a 120. I just want to do a shout out. I did a tweet. I think it was on Wednesday. There was an article that came out from Hinkley. And he said that he was going to defense. Well, that's what the article said, but he actually never said that. And there was a couple of people on Twitter that mentioned that. So I held him. So he's plus three, and he had 89% CBA. So not someone I'm going to be looking to trade out. The minus three, I might give it to Adam Chera, 59, bit disappointing. Has had a great month. And 59 is not great. And he sort of put me in a spot of what do I do? What do I do now? Like, do I trade him? But he's probably not my worst guy to trade. So, have to think about that during the week.
Yeah, exactly. That was a very bad performance from Adam Chera. Not sure what happened there, but we'll chat about that game very, very shortly. Guesty, mate, plus and minus three for you. You're on mute, Guesty.
There you go. Sorry about that. I was coughing before. Didn't want to cough into the mic. I'm going to keep it pretty simple. Straight bat. Nick Dacos +3, 137 points against my boy the Eagles. Racked up, had a ton of fun out there as well. So yeah, and then looking at the -3, I think I'll give it to Harry Sheasel. I know Bales told me that he got injured towards the end of the game, but even still, 65. If you made it that far into the game, is still not a very good score. So, although. I think Jack Sinclair should have a bit of a warning as well. 79. It's a couple of weeks where he hasn't scored very well. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, I thought there was something else that you're going to say there, but cool. Yes, no, not very good from Sheezel, but we will chat about him very, very soon. Plus and -3 for me. Funny enough, in a good week, there were still a lot of underperformers. This was a really tough week, as a lot of us know, a lot of preems doing subpar things, but in a week where a few people didn't quite get it done, I'm going to give my +3 to my captain, my VC, Nick Dacos, with a 137. He was fantastic getting it done. And being able to take that VC last night is and he was on, I think he was on 115, I reckon it was, with about maybe 5 minutes to go. And I was wondering, I was like, they're up by 4 goals. Does he come to the bench and sort of just get that 115 that people are going to be, oh, do you take it on Dawson against Richmond? Do you sort of bank the points? But thankfully, he actually jumped it up in the last few minutes and got to 137. So shout out to him. Very good score there. -3. She's been taken, obviously. I'll be very tempted to give it to Bont, but I'm going to give it to Callum Mills, who I brought in this week. Unfortunately, could have gone Sam Flanders, who I was pretty keen on as well, and saved, what was that, 130k or something like that. And I was just doing the calculations to see where I would have ended up if I had brought in good old Sam Flanders, and I would have finished up round rank of equal 10, 11 or 12. So that would have been pretty even better, but I'm still happy with my week regards. But Mills, Rocket's been sent, and he's definitely not someone you need to be bringing in if you didn't jump on him last week.
Just want to shout out, Bales, you saved me from getting Mills this week.
Yeah, mate.
So thanks for that.
I keep saving you. My season's shit. I know I've had a good week, right? But all in all, the season still hasn't been anywhere near what I want it to be. But I'm glad I could be an assistant coach. That's good. And if you can get a cap, then I'll be happy. So yes, mate. Very, very happy with that. We will turn our attention to the Content Creators Cup. So Guesty's little baby, obviously proudly brought to you by Guesty's company, Infinite Well. So based on some of the matchups, Guesty, how did the Fantasy Fanatics go this week? And what are some of the overall rankings?
Yeah, sure. Well, Jaiden lost out to DC by about 25 points. I had a win despite a poor week against MJ, who has been flying lately, so good job for him. Jordox had a win against Dunkley's Donuts from Hat Chat. And then Bales, where are you?
Second
You had a big win. Yeah. You had a big win over John Holmesy, the 20th coach in the Content Creators Cup. So, look, like pretty much all around for us. It was a bit of a good week in the Content Creators Cup. But look, we might have to do a bit of an update on Tuesday, considering Lockout hasn't lifted yet. And I've only got the desktop open at the moment, so I can't tell you all the overall rankings and shit like that.
Yep, exactly. But I will shout myself out again because it's been another bad year in the Content Creators Cup. Top scoring coach in the Content Creators Cup. First time this year I have achieved that feat. So very happy with that one there. So when I put out the tweet tomorrow, when I say shout out to Bales who top scored, that'll just be myself. So I'm just having a look here as well, by the way, at the top 200 from the week. And there are some very familiar names just before we get into the game. So just a shout out to a couple of lens that also had some massive weeks. So obviously someone that's jumped on the show with us a lot throughout this season, a good friend of the show, Tom, coach of Pom United, obviously Tom Hales, runner-up from last year. He had a 1969, so he came 21st for the week. So he had a very nice week there. Scrolling down here, there's a couple of other relevant names. I might have missed one or two as I'm going quite quickly here, but I know that DT Lemon had a very, very good week. So he ended up finishing, where is he? He was 1944, 114th for the week. And I know that DC was also right up there as well. So he ended up finishing, I think it's pretty much bang on 200 for the season. I'm also seeing good old Dossie currently sitting there as well inside the top couple of hundred for the round as well. So some good coach. Fantasy Freako as well had a 1938, 148 for the week. So I probably missed a couple of people there maybe. But yeah, some good coaches having some really strong weeks there as well. So, let's go and move into the games as well. Actually, did you go through the overall ranks in terms of where people are ranked at the moment?
Well, I'm on the desktop, mate, so it's not updated for me yet because Lockout hasn't lifted.
I've got it here. So you got Holmesy moved up to 119th overall, so just outside the top 100 there. Lemon has made the move. He's up to 184th overall. Then you've also got Nathan sitting there at 365th. Louis climbed a little bit back up again, up to 533rd. And DC back inside the top 1,000. He's at 736, with Jeppa at 1,020, just outside there. And almost every coach is inside the top 10K as well, which is nice. So a few movers this week. Let's go into the games and start off all the way back on Thursday night in a bit of a weird sort of game. Port Adelaide and Carlton, with Port winning by 50 points. Carlton certainly not showing up much. And both Connor Rozee and Miles Bergman, the only ton scorers from this game, both scoring exactly 120. If you don't mind, Miles Bergman with, what did he have? A 91-point second half. Jordy, me and you, I know you were at the game, you were gigging just beforehand. We were both nervous when we saw him go clashing with Butters. Went down the runes. We thought, here we go. Injury, probably going to be concussed, ruled out, going to drop money, but came back on and went absolutely nuts. I think he's obviously a hold, right? But is he someone that he's going to be a bit more of a hold, maybe longer than what we think? Because he's gone, 3 of his last 4 have been tons. He's playing this midfield role tagging, and he's going to have some guys coming up like a Lockie Neal or McCluggage next week. They've got West Coast, and maybe he goes to like a Harley Reid or something. But then they've got some other games where he actually matches up well with some, I think they've got showdowns, so Dawson up again. Is he someone that you're happy to hold at D6, M8, or even a D7, M9 as maybe a loop guy?
Yeah, definitely. I think, we saw Bergman go to 89% CBAs. We've never seen that from him before. He's been sitting around that 50%. So if he's at 89 next week against Lockie Neal or McCluggage, and he's going to look to take more of that midfield role, he could potentially be a keeper for the year. It's all with the CBAs. Before he was doing that about 50%, so a bit of a split. Probably we're happy with a 90, 95, but who knows what the ceiling is if he's got high CBAs. So he's definitely not someone that I'm, going to be trading next week or anything like that. And it's real funny because, dropped that 52, but had that shoulder, and now he could be a keeper. So it's funny how things change. And Connor Rozee had absolutely 0 CBAs. And last week he had 89%. So we just have to watch the role. If he is definitely high CBAs, then I think we got to keep him because he's going to score.
Yep, exactly. I think the big thing as well, just you mentioned Rozee there, the big thing was he had 8 kick-ins, and then Sin and Farrell had 2 each. So clearly that is now sort of looking like a bit of a shift where Rozee, when he's back there, is taking most of those kick-ins, which is obviously fantastic for us for fantasy. Also 11 marks there. Sam Doherty in a poor night for Carlton was pretty good with 93. Had some, again, few poor disposals. People, again, probably got the pitchforks out saying that he should be dropped. But again, he might not have played good, but he's by far not the worst at Carlton. There are a lot of players there not pulling their own weight. But he got moved to a wing after quarter time. Still was able to score a K out there. But there is a chance that he's not there next week if Carlton decide to go for a few younger guys, which partly you can't blame him. But obviously that would be a trade if he was to be moved. But if he's still in the team, we probably hold. He's probably got a little bit of cash to make. So just something to watch with team selection there next week. George Stewart, 89. In a low-scoring game where Carlton were bad, obviously it's not amazing, but certainly could have been a lot worse there. Zach Butters, 79 with 30 touches. That's disappointing. Few unfortunate free kicks there, and just unfortunately didn't quite get it done. He got the Chincotta tag for a little bit of the night, but wasn't able to keep the scoring ticking over. TDK, 77. Not too great in a good matchup there as well. Cooper Lord, 63. Manny Liddy, 61. Good for cash gen there. Hugh Jackson with a 60. Good for cash gen as well. But Adam Guesty, obviously 59. We probably can't really give too much of an explanation exactly what happened, but what are your thoughts with Chera moving forward? Is he someone you might move on, or are you going to be holding him for the time being?
Yeah, no, look, I think, well, I mean, look, We're at an interesting stage of the season, right? So we got players probably thinking about 23rd premiums. We've got, we've got a lot of moving and shaking that could be happening, right? And so it's now the part of the season where a lot of this stuff is going to be team dependent. But so whether you move him on or not, I'm not sure. I mean, he doesn't exactly have a great run coming up. I mean, he's now had Port, but he's got Collingwood, Brisbane. He then goes into Melbourne, which are easy, but Hawthorn after that as well, which are on the tougher side. So not a great run, but really Cherry just does this every 4 or 5 games. He throws up a poor score. I think he threw up a 70 odd not that long ago, about 4 or 5 games ago. So look, maybe it's just one of those poor games. Carlton were pretty well beaten by Port Adelaide as well. So I'm not too particularly concerned. I mean, like I said, he doesn't have a great run, so probably not the best scoring coming over the next few weeks. He definitely is someone that you could consider trading out, but it's all about the teams right now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, apologies for that. If anyone, I don't know if you guys could hear the dogs barking in the background. It's driving me absolutely insane. No idea what they're barking at. I had to quickly deal with that. So that's all sorted. And we'll keep moving forward. But yes, Cher obviously very disappointing. Cripps also disappointing as well with a 58 there. And then, Jason Horne-Francis, 37, and subbed out. We thought it was managed, but then I think roaming BT after the game that asked someone that knew Horne-Francis, didn't see the exact clip, but they said he was subbed out because of his shoulder. So that's a little bit concerning that he's still obviously carrying that. So, Jordy, just quickly on Horne-Francis, if you've got him, a few people asking, do you just trade him out? He's obviously fallen a lot in terms of price. Do you just hold and just sort of hope he comes sort of back into form? It's a bit like Tom Stewart, right? Like when he was playing with a bit hampered. Are you trading or are you holding for the time being?
I think you'd hope that maybe you've got 23 primos, maybe. We've got McCarthy now. That's doing a pretty good job. So maybe you just hold him, and maybe we can look at a loop or something, and maybe you can play McCarthy for a week or two because he's going to be really cheap soon. He's already cheap now, but in a couple of weeks, he might be someone I'll probably look at as an extra 20, maybe a 24th guy or something. So it depends what you can do with your team. I think if you don't have 23, then maybe you do trade him. But I just think, most people have McCarthy, so maybe you can just do a shuffle there and have a look at that. You probably might be hard to loop him next week because he's playing on a Saturday night. So you'd have to be confident rolling into him. But you can have a look at. I guess it depends on your team really. So
Yeah, exactly. And Shay Troll in the chat there saying that tell those dogs it's fantasy time, mate. I told him, I said, not the best time to be deciding that you're going to bark at absolutely nothing. So, but yes, we are moving forward, and we'll move on to Friday night footy, which was Sydney and the Dogs. A great game of footy. I know that we're not going to speak about the Oval because the Oval was an absolute joke, right? But considering how bad the Oval was, I thought it was actually a good game in terms of the goals that were kicked. But from fantasy, it was a bit frustrating for a lot of people. But there were some big performers here. So you had Brody Grundy, 137. And if anyone is thinking that about the ruck pig isn't back, he is well and truly back, and he is performing back at the levels that we saw when he was averaging 120. He's just pumping out 120s, 130s. I think he hasn't gone below 120 in his past 5 games, if I'm not mistaken. He had a couple of 110s in there as well. It's just crazy scoring. He's so expensive, but I think that there is definitely Jordy, is there a play where we'll talk about Tristan Cherry, right? But he obviously struggled on the weekend, and even a Tim English, who's been fantastic this year, scored an 80, but does have a really tough run. If you're in luxury trade season, what's stopping you from going like one of those guys to a Brody Grundy who's just killing it at the moment?
I know this is on Saturday. I don't know if I texted you or not, but I definitely got a bit frustrated with Cherry, and I was like, geez, can we trade him? And it definitely just went through my mind on Saturday. I was like, okay, could it be because he's very highly owned? So I was like, is it a way that I can go against? But I don't know. He's got a decent matchup this week and against English, and it's a Thursday night as well. So you'd have to really lock it in early. I think I'm going to hold, but I was a bit frustrated with Cherry. But maybe you can look at it as a if you want to go depending on where you're ranked, take a risk maybe. Maybe you're sitting 500 or something, and I don't know. I haven't really thought about it too much, but it did come through my head on Saturday.
Do you think for those people, so I know Taser, obviously shout out to Taser, obviously a good friend of the show that was on with us on Friday. So he was saying that he didn't end up. I don't think he ended up going Marshall in the end. I think he ended up going
think he went
McRae
McRae.
and Josh Dacos. For people like him that have got Luke Jackson at R2, are you just paying up for Grundy because he's getting it done? Like, we'll talk about Marshall later, but is Grundy just someone that you'd be happy to pay up for? You're paying well over 1.1, but do you just bring him in, just backing in this form?
I think so. I think like this is the time of year where you can actually start paying up for guys. Obviously you build your team value, but now is the point that you got to get points on field, and we've only got a handful of games left. What have we got? Like 8. We've got 8 weeks left, so you got to start getting points on field. I paid up for Dawson this week. I don't think you can. If you need to pay up and it suits your team, like I think you can do it at this time of year.
Yeah, agreed. Errol Goulden, 124. Back to Errol Goulden and doing Errol Goulden things. So first quarter, he only had the 9 points, but after that, he ended up scoring 115. So we're not surprised. We were wondering when this is going to happen. We probably thought it was going to be this week. Probably thinking maybe a couple of weeks warm up, but no, Errol just said, "Nah, I'm back and I'm ready to go." And he was fantastic. So I think he's someone that isn't going to get cheap, I don't think, for us. He's someone that you could take the punt on that's expensive, be a bit different, and get him there. He does have Freo into St Kilda, so I just wonder if that's maybe Wagner and Windy. Do they go more to him or do they go more to a Heaney or something? That's probably the one thing I'd be looking at, because Errol's been very good and has made a noticeable difference along with a few other guys at Sydney since coming back from injury. Isaac Heaney, 117. He was very good as well. Again, he had a really bad first half, but he ended up scoring over 100 points in the last 3 quarters. He was very good with 5 goals. Jake Lloyd also turned up for those draft coach along with a Joel Frazier. He's just going to be a gun. And if he's got forward status next year, just someone to maybe put a little bit of it in your black book and see potentially there. Bailey Dale got the 90, got a bit of attention from Brandon Campbell in the second half. But 90, I guess, at the end of the day is not bad, but had a bit of quite a second half, unfortunately, for him. Chad Warner, 89. That's okay. His CBAs were back up. He was the third CBA guy behind both Heaney and who was the other one? Heaney and Jordan. So Jordan was at 26, Heaney 27, Warner was at 20. So that's a good sign moving forward, I think. Dogs aren't necessarily a good matchup, so I'm hopeful that he turns it around and can get some good scores. But then we get to some really bad ones. So Matt Kennedy with an 86 is okay, but people would have paid up for him. And he put up a bad score, unfortunately. Tim English, obviously bad matchup for him and struggled just there with the 80 points. Sheldrick, 76 is okay. Bont is just, it's a joke at the moment. 3 of his last 4 under a ton. We probably thought it'd be 3 of his next 4 would be over the ton, not 3 under. So really disappointing from him. He's got North. I expect him to bounce back, but a few people in the watch long on Friday night were just saying probably isn't really a fantasy player in terms of he's more of the impact. He's such a good player that he can average 100, 105 for a whole season, but he's not the guys that rack up the tackles, rack up the marks, because if he's doing that, he's going to get attention. So I think he'll be an okay player, and he's still cheap. But yeah, I'm just sort of a bit concerned with him moving forward unless he can really get going, because he didn't really get tagged in this one, but still struggled. Callum Mills, 67. Guesty, I think you jumped on to him, but with the 67, obviously his cash sort of just stalls and was sort of unsure with the role. Still, it looked a little bit more accountable on the weekend. Is he still fine to trade into under 800, or do you think a score like that, you're probably going, if you didn't jump on him, you're looking at someone else?
Yeah. Look, I think you start looking elsewhere. I mean, we'll talk about Sammy Flanders pretty soon. Obviously we've already talked about McCarthy, pretty much almost backing it up with another ton. So yeah, I don't necessarily think you're going there right now.
Yeah, I would agree with that one. Sam Darcy as well, 56. Disappointing. Unfortunately, key forwards we know can drop these scores, but I wouldn't be trading him out. He's got North Melbourne this week. I think he's going to put up a really good score against them. We saw what Gunston did to them down at Tassie, so I think that he'll have a good game. So I'd be definitely holding him. Just a bad score. His first real poor score in a full game this year, unfortunately. And then, Davidson, if people held, only the 39 points from him, so he was a bit disappointing there as well. Moving over to the Saturday games. So we'll start off with the first game, which was Gold Coast and Melbourne. Gold Coast winning by 19 points there. How about Jake Melksham? 128, 5 goals, 6. So if you got him in draft, then obviously be very, very happy with that score there. A few low tons here. John Noble and Matt Rao both going 107. Petrarca 105, and also Cosy Pickett with the 101. But your boy Jordy, Nando, got the tag from who was it Viney that was, or Langdon or someone was going? I think
Langdon to start,
and then, went to him. But he had a obviously massive last quarter there, end up scoring the 44 points to get to a 93. So again, premium mids, if you're having a bad week, do what Nando did. Rack it up in last quarter, get to a solid score. Would you still be encouraging people, Jordy, to jump on him? Obviously, Melbourne we thought was a good matchup, got the tension, and only got to 93. But he comes up against Essendon this week, which obviously been giving up some points, and don't really see many tags coming his way up until probably like round 22 or around there. Do you think he's still someone you'd be looking at?
Yeah, I love Nando. I think he's a top 8 mid. Maybe he's a the 7th or 8th mid, or he's just around that range. And I think he's at a decent price at the moment. I think it sort of shows that he still needs to rack it up to get the ton. So he had 27 disposals, which is still a lot, but 93. For him to get these 115s, 120s, we're seeing like 32, 33, 35 disposal games from him. So. That's probably where it was. But for him to fight through the tag is awesome because, if he dropped a low one, that would have been very hurtful in a week of the buys. So that is a good sign if he does get attention. But I think he's a good option. I think he will average around about maybe 102. He'll hover around that, and he's a top 8 mid, I reckon, at the end there. So I like him as an option. Been on him for a while, so I think if you like him and you like watching Gold Coast, which I do, I'm all aboard Nando's.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. You're aboard Nando's, but I think he's a good target as well. Sam Flanders, Guesty, you obviously talked about it just before, so now it's gone 88 and then a 90 this week, 28 disposals. Obviously, he's not really been a huge tackler or even mark guy, unless he's been playing at half back. But the role has definitely shifted. Back-to-back games, he's playing, instead of playing deep forward, people are going to look at the CBAs and going, only one CBA, but his role is pretty much that fourth midfielder right up at the stoppage, end up getting behind the ball and had a fair few disposals in the back half. He's under 700K. Is there a world where, for example, like Andrew was saying there, like that people, could they trade like even like a Mills straight out? Is there a world where you could go even a Mills down to a guy like Flanders and make some money? Or do you think Flanders is a guy you'd bring in as a 23rd premium on the bench because he's like pretty cheap?
Yeah, look, I'm kind of, where my team's at, I'm kind of thinking more about these 23rd, 24th kind of, I'm not sure if you'd call Sam Flanders, Callum Mills primos, right? But something along those lines. You could certainly loop them. Some teams have got McCarthy that we talked about before as well, Colby McKercher. Maybe you loop 2 of these players in the defensive line. Maybe you loop 2 of them in the mid line. So that's certainly more what I'm thinking, because the truth is these players could turn up in a week, right? So I'm not sure that you want to hop out, because they're bound to have those weeks where if you trade them out, they're bound to go a ton next week,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm definitely looking at it. Essendon this week, we mentioned for Nando, Essendon for Gold Coast, they've got a decent run coming up. He's someone that I'm considering, and I'm sort of kicking myself. I was pretty keen on it, but thought, no, I'll go the safe play. I'll go Callum Mills. I want to watch another week, but probably should have gone there the week early, because again, that's how you get ahead. If you jump early, then some good things can happen. If you jumped on early, you'd be very, very happy. Max Gawn, 89 against Wits. We knew it was a tough matchup, right? That's why a lot of people did trade on the buy. But again, if you've got him, you hold. If you don't have him, obviously he might come down a little bit in price, so you might be able to jump on in a few weeks' time when his run opens up a little bit more. Clayton Oliver, the 76 for people that were still holding him there. Scrolling down the page, a few rookies that a lot of people would have moved out of. So I think that's pretty much it from that game. So we will move over to the next game, which was down at UTAS. Hawthorn getting the job done over North Melbourne by 85 points. A massive score for Hawthorn there. And Colby McKercher, 103 points. If you jumped on him over the last few weeks, you'd be very, very happy with how he's been going. He's going to be pretty close to 800K as well. And he's someone I think we're going to be holding at D6 for a fair while. Could even be that guy, D7, M9 that we're using as that loop, having defender mid. And also John Newcomb and Carl Amon all scoring 103. So really quite a low fantasy scoring game. Not many massive ceiling scores here. Even Gunston with the 100 there with the 7 goals. Meek definitely got the better of Cherry. He scored 99 and Cherry scored 93. Obviously, we chatted about that before. Guesty, obviously, Cherry, 4 of his last 5 have been under a ton. And even the 111 that he scored against West Coast, we probably was thinking that was slightly unders against West Coast when we've seen what the other rucks have done. He now goes English, good matchup. But then I think he goes Gawn into Grundy in back-to-back weeks, then has a better run to end the year. What are you doing with Cherry? Is it a move to go across to a Marshall if you don't have him? Obviously, Marshall had a good score this week. Grundy, if you've got the money to pay up, maybe be a bit unique there as well. Is it you're moving off, or are you sort of just sticking fat with X and think he will turn around?
Well, I think it's a bit early in the week for me to be talking about trade plans for a ruckman. I mean, the only thing I'd say right now is he has got Geelong, St Kilda, GWS, and Richmond coming in a few weeks' time, so he's got a good run to come. But look, I mean, yeah, I don't know. Like I said, too early in the week for me. But I mean, I know what I'm thinking at the moment is those that jumped off Gawn, I was one of those players thinking about it, but I didn't do it. And jumped into a Grundy have certainly won that trade. So kudos to those that did that.
Yeah, if you did that, you'd be very, very happy with that trade. Caleb Daniel, 3rd score in a row below 80, another 79. So he's just scoring 70s at the moment. As F6, it's not too bad, but if you don't have I know Matt Kenny's going to drop it, but if you don't even have maybe, I don't even know what McRae scored just before, but maybe you make the move from Caleb Daniel to someone at some point, but there's not really anyone putting their hands up. It's a lot of money to go up to a Matt Kennedy who just dropped an 86. I know he's been good before that, but maybe you wait a few weeks, hope he drops a few 80s and drops down. But yeah, Caleb Daniel, very frustrating there. Dylan Moore being subbed out was very unfortunate. He was on 74 midway through the 3rd quarter, looking like another big ton. And he got subbed out. I think we heard that he had a bit of a niggle post the Crows game. Training was sort of slightly limited at times. And ended up getting subbed out. Looked like tactically he seemed pretty happy on the bench. So I think he's fine. But yeah, just again, a bit of a slap in the face to people that traded him in this week. I think I saw DC was one that traded him in. So very, very frustrating there. Harry Sheasel, though, Jordy, 65. He's been great still in the role, right? So it's got nothing to do with his form, right? But again, I personally can't understand why North trap him inside the forward 50. I understand they want him in forward half, but you can put him in the midfield. You can put him up as Nick Martin sort of role and get amongst the ball and deliver it inside 50. But he's expensive. Coming into a short break, shoulder injury. Our teams are fairly complete. If you don't have many of these mid-pricer guys that you're unhappy with, is it a play to move Sheasel across to a Jai Caldwell, Errol Goulden, Jordan Dawson if you don't have him? One of these midfielders you feel confident in on the run home. Is it a play to maybe go across? And this is more for Sheasel if he's in your mids. I think a lot of us have got a defender mid in our midfield at the moment. So if that's the case, is that something you'd consider doing, or do you think you've got to hold face with Sheasel?
This is a hard one for me to answer. I had Sheasel and I traded him to Whitfield. And then Whitfield was my captain and I lost that. And then I was texting you, Bales, and I was going to bring Sheasel back in this week. But I was either going to bring in Sheasel, Mills, or Dawson. And Bales, as the Dawson lover, said, go Dawson. So I did. And Mills and Sheasel have popped a low one. So I was considering I'm going to bring Sheasel back in, or even this week. And then he's done the 65. I know he's got that forward role. And that was the thing that I wanted to jump off before getting Whitfield in. But he was still pumping 120s, 130s. I'm wondering Hawks smashed him. That's not great. He is sore. It's a 5-day break. It's really a fine line. You could trade, but then he could come and do what he's doing. I don't know where I sit with it. Maybe as the week goes on, we're going to find out more. It's probably going to, if he plays, that's probably going to be the decision, isn't it? Because you're going to have to go, okay, am I jumping off and taking that risk, or do I just hold and see if he can bounce back? If he's out, then obviously it's a clear trade, which he might be out, and then your decision will be made. So, probably as Guesty said, it's early in the week, and because I don't own, I've sort of been on him and off him. It's hard for me to, I don't own him at the moment. So, that's sort of how I see it. What do you think, Bales? As an owner?
I'm tempted to trade. Whether I do or don't, that's another thing. But I'm really keen on Jai Caldwell and Errol Goulden. Jai Caldwell's not getting any cheaper. He's going up in price. Errol's break-in was 140. He's going to go down maybe 20K 30K maybe at most, and he's still going to be expensive. His break-in's going to be back to like a 120, 115. He's not getting any cheaper, and he's got a good run home as well. So part of me is thinking that if Sheasel's going to go down, he's going to have a high break-even. If he's playing at all limited, part of me is tempted. If you still got a rookie on field, I would still be probably advising against doing this, unless you're going like I don't know, Sheasel down to, I'll use Josh Dunkley as just an example. First one that popped in my head. You get yourself 140K, and that gets you a rookie up to Flanders or something. Or if it gets you your mid-pricer up to another primo, you could, in a world, do that. But part of me, as you say, Jordy, thinks that Sheasel is obviously an absolute gun fantasy player. They were badly beaten against Hawthorn. They just didn't get the ball. Is it just more down to that? But the 5-day break, the sore shoulder against the Dogs, don't love it. The week after, he's got Melbourne. It's a good matchup. Then goes Sydney Geelongs and then St Kilda. So some good matchups there. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like maybe in the role, he might not absolutely burn you, especially if he's limited. So I don't know. Guesty, to sort of finish up the Sheasel chat, any thoughts from you?
I think we're going to have to wait to hear more news. Yeah, but look, savvy coaches with 22 premiums probably will look to jump off, I think.
Yeah. And then a couple of, obviously, poor scores from some rookies in a Finn O'Sullivan there as well. Sam Butler, 36. That was quite disappointing for those that had the Tyrell Dewar out that pivoted to Butler. He unfortunately didn't put up a good score at all. And then Riley Hardiman, what an awful trade that has been. I was one jumped on. I jumped off a couple of weeks ago, but if you trade in Hardiman, it's just been, I know Colby back is a big reason for that, but he's just been 19 points in a full game is just, it's not good enough. So if he's still in your team, he has got to go definitely there. And George Waller was out with concussion as well. So I wonder if does that affect Sheasel's role moving forward as well? That's something to, I guess.
Just on that, I think O'Sullivan did a calf as well. And and it came out, Mitch Cleary came out with something. He did a calf, and Luke McDonald went for scans as well. So that's two, halfbacks sort of there. And there was another injury. Parker is a bit sore as well. So it'd be really interesting at North, and obviously Wardlaw with the concussion. So yeah, like who knows? There might be a few changes. 5-day break. We'll have to just wait and see. That's sort of what Cleary tweeted. So yeah, one to keep an eye on.
Yeah. Moving over to the Saturday night game, which was Collingwood and West Coast, with Collingwood getting the job done by 29 points, but this game was a bit closer for a lot of the game, and West Coast were definitely in this one. And I thought for a second, is it going to happen? But they were very good. But Nick Dacos, 137 points. Obviously not complaining whatsoever with that score. 137 is amazing. And I even felt that could have been bigger. I think he left some points, and his teammates didn't do him any favors in the first quarter. 1 goal, 3 as well, but 137 is fantastic. Top scorer of the round, along with Brady Grundy. So very, very happy with him there. If he didn't jump on him last week, still a good option. I think he's in for a good, maybe you don't jump on him this week because he's going to have Chincotta, but the week after, I think is when you want him for the run home, because he's got some good matchups to come, and not, I don't think, a huge amount of tags there. So really good option if you didn't jump on him. Pendles just keeps on being Pendles, 118 points, really good. Good draft option. Not looking at him in Classic because he could be subbed out in a game if they're up. Baker, good score, 117. Darcy Cameron, 102. Solid score there from him. Josh Dacos, 97. Good score, but back-to-back weeks he was on over 60 points at halftime and ended up on a sub second half, if you put it that way. So, but 97, we take that. Tom McCarthy, 95, Guesty. Back-to-back weeks, he has 31 touches and he has 29 disposals in his next game, 95 points. For those people that, I guess, have got low team value, might have a rookie or two on field, are you just maybe focusing on the other 21 players and upgrading around him, and you can just sit McCarthy at D6? Or do you still think it's best to have him as the D7, M9 loop, and you can sort of play around with it? Obviously, he plays early this week, so we get a look at his score on the Friday night. But what are your thoughts on McCarthy? Is he fine enough to leave it at D6?
I would prefer to use him as a 23rd premium. Look, he's obviously done well on his first 2 games into the system, but he is a rookie and he's liable to drop a 50 or a 60 at any time. So Look, I think you can, if you're running really thin, you could run him at D6, but I think ideally you'd want to be running him as your 23rd premium. How's that? We're calling a second gamer a 23rd premium? Well, I am anyway.
Yeah, exactly. He does have GWS and Port Adelaide next to, right? So 2 tough matchups. I agree. I think he's best used as that loop guy. So this week we get to loop him on the bench, see what he scores, and then decide if we want to take it. Week after they play the last game. So you'd want to, obviously, you loop maybe 1 or maybe 2 people if you've got a red dot defender mid like an Angus Hasty, for example, and you can loop between a couple of players and have McCarthy on the bench there. But yeah, 95 and 101 is 2 games. Only had the 4 kick-ins as well. I think Duggan had 4 as well. In this game, Collingwood only had the 10 behinds there. So, yeah, Duggan had 4, McCarthy 4, Baker and Ginby had 1 each. So, other weeks, he'll probably have a lot more kick-ins, but the fact he still scored 95 without needing the kick-ins is obviously a very good score. Some other scores in this one. Ned Long with an 80. I think it's, your side's done, I think it's time to go. Ned Long's been great for us. Obviously, he's made well over 450K. But he's just not quite getting it done. The games where he actually scored his tons, or when his game time was well over 75% and closer to 80%. So like the 132 came from 79%. The 101 against Hawthorn, 79%. The Melbourne one, good matchup, and scored 101 from 71%. But with the lower game time last 2 weeks, back-to-back scores of 76 and 80. That you can upgrade him to a top 8 mid and be pretty happy with that one. Albeit, I think he could actually do better against Carlton, who are a high stoppage team there. Anyone else from this game? I think it's pretty much it there. Bo Allen, 42. Job Shannon, 36. Showed some good signs, but obviously not going to be huge scores, along with Charlie West, who got the 19. Long? Yeah, we just talked about Ned Long.
Oh, sorry. I was off in the fairies.
All good, mate. All good. So that's pretty much it from that game. So we will move over to the final 2 games on the Sunday. But as always, the podcast is sponsored this season by our good friends at Game Day Squad. So obviously another fantasy platform, as you guys are fully aware of. But some big news with Game Day Squad dropped on the weekend. I saw in the Discord. They've got Premier League joining Game Day Squad this year. So there'll be some EPL fantasy, if you will, on Game Day Squad. So really looking forward to that as a soccer fan myself. So any soccer fans out there, or if you're still playing AFL fantasy, maybe you're out of your leagues or your rank's not looking too great and you want a weekly sort of thing to keep doing, head over to Game Day Squad. Plenty of prizes to win weekly. And if you use the code BAILSDT at sign up, you get yourself 3 of the 9-player common packs for free. And I think it's valued about $21. So, and it's free to play as well. That's the best part about it. So if you haven't registered and want to go register, head to gamedaysquad.com.au and use the code BAILSDT at sign up to get some free packs and enjoy. Good fun. So moving over to the Richmond and Adelaide game, Adelaide getting the job done by 68 points. Prestia, 129, good for drafter. Dan Curtin, he was fantastic today, 118 points. He's going to be someone that I think is going to become an inside mid at some point and be a fantasy option for us. But if you've got him somehow on your bench or whatever, 118 points is very, very handy in a bye week there. And then some guys that we probably didn't expect to go big, I guess but Mitch Hinge, 113, Wayne Miller, 111, Phil Thorpe, 107, Dawson, 105, slightly unders, had the last 5 minutes on the bench, but a lot of sub-tons, but obviously a lot of people had him captain, so that was probably the frustrating part there. Laird also with the ton. That was his, obviously, he does this. He'll have 1 ton and he'll have a few other 90s to follow, but good matchup for him and he scored well. And then, Banks 105 along with Josh Worrell. So some good tons, but not too many fantasy relevant ones, I guess, there. Berry, if you've still got him, scored 89. Isaac Rankin, 82. Probably it's disappointing because he was on 63 at halftime and ended up with 82. So 19 point second half, really took his foot off the gas. And I just think that that's going to be him. I think he's going to be more the impact guy back half of the year as they try and sort of manage his way through and try and not sort of burn him out in the mid. So I think if you've got him, you maybe hold 1 more week against Melbourne, but I think he's someone that I'd be looking to upgrade. But forward line, there's not a lot of great options really to be looking at there. Taranto, 81, pretty much been what he's been for a lot of the year, unfortunately. Tyler Alger, very happy. Sorry, not Tyler Alger, unbelievable. Jasper Alger, I don't know how I got his name. I don't know if there's a Tyler Alger somewhere, but Jasper Alger, good today. 60 points, wasn't the sub. Shouldn't have been sub last week in his debut, but hit a couple of goals. I think he holds his spot I think he's a solid forward downgrade if you need someone near the sort of base. He'll be about 240 odd there after his sub game the week before, but he's someone that you can potentially look towards. Not going to be a huge scorer, but will be someone there as a bit of a heartbeat on the bench. But that is pretty much it from that game. So we'll move swiftly on to the final game, which is Freo and St Kilda. So a lot of fantasy relevance here. Freo getting the job done by 12 points. And I know in the chat before, who was it that said about good old Jordan Clark? Jordy, Tronny boy saying that Jordy Clark flying under the radar. My boy, my pod. So Guesty, 122. Jordan Clark is definitely flying under radar with some good scores. Obviously, we know St Kilda is a good matchup there for them. So Jordan Clark is up to, he was 957 before the round. So he has gone 133, 122 in his last two. Even went a 97, then a 120 before the bye. Is he someone that you might look towards, or do you think you've lost that, I guess, the value in terms of he's going to be essentially like at near $1 million, and you're probably looking at someone that you think is a sort of a guaranteed top 6 defender?
I think last week was the week to do it. I actually looked at bringing him in last week just with his run, but it was really just the St Kilda and Sydney matchups that I was looking for. But I brought in Callum Mills when the value play because I was looking to get that, last rookie off field going back into the normal fixture after the last week of the buys. So, look, great shout out to whoever it was that named him there. But yeah, I think he's probably a bit out of reach now, and you've missed out on some of his green run as well.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Very good score from him. Ryan Marshall, 119 points, and that was with a really quiet third quarter. I think he only had like 7 points, but outside of that, really good. I think he's someone that if you don't have the money for Grundy and you are looking to make a move in the rucks, I think we know what Marshall can do, and he was really good in this game. So 119 was good. Nasai Wanganeen Millera, again, also got it done. I think, was he on 6 points at quarter time as well? No, he was on 12, so he must have got a mark pretty late. But I remember he was on 6 points for a lot of that first quarter, but again, got there in the end and tonned up. Luke Jackson, the unicorn, Jordy's favourite player in all of fantasy footy at the moment, 107 points, including that pretty crazy mark at the end there. I thought he was going to drop it, but that 12 points certainly helping all of his coaches. So he'll tick over $1 million this week. I think you've missed the boat. If you don't have him now, I think it's too late to jump on him, but he still had a pretty good role. So, Jordan, I think you watched fair bit this game. Had the 15 CBAs. Did he have that number one ruck role and then sort of be that midfielder? I think I saw him a little bit forward as well.
Yeah, he did. Definitely played a lot more forward. So there's a tweet that's just come out and it says, Jordan Clark reveals Jackson had a bit of a tough week and it was a real battle for him to get going. So he was a bit flat, but his second half was phenomenal. So I think he obviously had a tough week, and I think, they definitely rucked Sean Darcy a lot more, and Darcy was pretty good. So I think, they used him forward a bit more, but he did have that ruck rover role as well. The thing is I think like Nat Fyfe was the sub. I think they never got used. So I don't know what the plan was there, but obviously they were happy with what was going, and he definitely played a lot more forward, but obviously still scored unreal because kicked a couple goals. But I think moving forward, he will, he'll have a bit more ruck time. I think more CBAs compared to what he had today. But to get 107 is awesome.
Yeah, I didn't see the tweet when they said tough week. I'm assuming they meant something obviously off, not an injury or anything. It was more like sort of just meaning off the field, maybe something happened. So yes,
he said he overcame a challenging headspace to produce that final term. So it was just a tweet from Owen Leonard that I've just Channel 9. So just came out. So I think they managed him a bit more with Sean Darcy, but awesome to get 107.
Oh, shout out to Luke Jackson. Hope he's all right. And obviously fantastic game from him and a very, very good score. Very happy with that. Andrew Brayshaw, 99. So I know I'm not the only fantasy coach. We all get annoyed when a player scores 99. We're just like, come on, just get that one extra touch. I think he had a poor third quarter again as well, but end up getting to a solid score there. Jack Steele, 93. Looked better, but still obviously not an amazing score for someone that's priced over $1 million. So I still don't hate the idea of sidewaysing him if you've got your sort of full upgraded side. Jack McRae with an 89. Now, was his time on ground back up? Was that still 82%. Low? No, that took a big step up, so 82%. So really happy to see that. I think he's a good target. It's not going to be too much to even go Caleb Daniel up to him. think that's something that you could definitely look at. Guesty, is that something that is Jack Macrae, maybe someone that you would potentially look at bringing in? Obviously a bit more unique now, but would you look at him now?
Look, I think this is what we're in that stage of the season, right? This is what we're going to start looking at, these luxury trades. But I mean, I guess the first thing we got to look at is what do we expect Jack Macrae to score? What, ton up, or is he a 90, 95? I mean, I kind of think he's maybe more that 90, 95, which means maybe he's only 5 or 10 points better than a Caleb Daniel. Maybe we should look elsewhere. I mean, once again, a Tristan Cherry's not turning up, and we got Brody Grundy doing, 120s like they're nothing. So, it's all about the differentials in the different lines, and that's what I think, coaches are going to start doing as of this week on.
Yeah, I think I agree. They got, obviously, Hawthorn this week. It's not a great matchup. Then Sydney, who have been a little bit trickier last couple of weeks. But after that, their run from rounds 19 to 23, Geelong at GMHBA, then Melbourne, and then North Melbourne, both at Marvel, Richmond at the G, Essendon at Marvel. I think you want Macrae for that run. That's a nice run, particularly from rounds 20 to 23. I think that'll be a good time to target him. So maybe you wait a week or two. But yeah, I do think he is a good person to be looking at there. Now, Jack Sinclair, Jordy, I was out and about today, watched Crow's game, watched the UFC as well. So didn't get to catch a huge amount of the first half particularly, and only a little bit of the last quarter. Every time I looked up, Sinclair was on a wing or up in the forward line. Was there a change in role today? Because the 79 would suggest that it wasn't a great score. And even looking at the kick-ins, he still had 7 kick-ins, right? So clearly he still had a bit of a defensive role. But was he up the ground more? Or was it maybe just in the second half then?
It's hard to say because, he still had those kick-ins. It's just, I don't know what's going on. Like, obviously, Wangani Malera is the number one guy at the moment. And it seems that Sinclair's sort of, maybe being the guy behind him. But I don't know. It didn't really seem like a role change to me. He was still sort of back. Obviously, they try and push up and try and, get it through the middle and obviously to their forward. So nothing completely noticeable, but it's been a bit worrying with a 79 and a 60. I think it was 64 last week in the buys. Not sure what's happening there with Sinclair. So yeah, because he's obviously a top guy, and it's as Guesty said, this is the thing to look at is what are we going to do with trying to look at a position. If it's a role change, do you trade out of these guys to get luxury? But nothing really stood out to me with Sinclair. That was too different.
Yeah, exactly. He's obviously going to drop in price. So those coaches that don't have him, obviously, maybe look at him in a few weeks. I'd mentioned that run for St Kilda. I think he's going to be someone that we're going to want for that run. But I think we have seen a bit of that shift a lot this year, where Nasai is clearly the main guy there. And it's funny when I see some players that they're just like your Nick Dacos and Nasai's in that same boat, where if they're running by for a handball, the person with the ball will give him a quick handball and shepherd. They'll just get it to him at all cost. And Nasai did that on multiple occasions today, and particularly in that last quarter when St Kilda were trying to get that last couple of goals to try and get back in the game. Max Hall, if anyone's still got him out there, scored an 88. That was a good score from a rookie if you've still got him sitting around there. Nod scored a 78 as well. Bolton 65. Glad that Guesty, I'm glad that we both jumped off of him a couple weeks ago, because he's been a hard watch the last few weeks. Travalia 63 was good. Caleb Sarong, I believe he got the Windy tag here. Was it Jordy? Was it Windy that went to him in this one, or did someone else go to him?
I think so. I actually caught the second half. I'm just going to check now quickly. But yeah, obviously a very down game for someone that's over $1 million.
Is he trade could he be an aggressive trade where he's been great, right? But he comes up against Sydney this week, and that's James Jordan. That's Jordan obviously locked down Ed Richards pretty much for the whole game. I think the tag been saying, okay, so IT says Garcia was on Sarong. I thought I heard Garcia, so yeah, it was Garcia there. Is Sarong someone that, to be aggressive, you can sideways in maybe to a Goulden or a Caldwell or something? Is with a Jordan tag coming up, is that something you could consider? Take the cash he's made, the good scores, and move off?
Jeez, tough, isn't it? Because he's just pumped out a 122 and a 133 the weeks before. No, hang on, that's Jordan Clark. I was looking at you from Guesty.
Oh, it's not too far off.
It was pretty massive. They were 137 and 146. I don't know. I think I would just. Surely there's other things in your team that you need to trade out. Like I would assume a lot of people jumped on him for those scores. Look, if you're in a real luxury, maybe you can look at it, but with the tags. But I would think that if there's a ranking in your team or there's a Chera or something else, I would assume that would be a bit higher priority than a Sarong. That's just me personally, because I still think he's a top 8 mid.
This is once again though where depending on how your sides look, and the 23rd premium really comes in handy, right? Is where you got a player like this, which when he's not tagged goes 130 or can go 130. And then when he's got his tag games, which we knew kind of he's probably going to get tagged this week, and we knew chances are he's going to get tagged next week. Where if you can just leave him on your bench, or you run the loops, and you can dodge the tag scores and get the ceiling scores. So it really is just a state right now. It's a really tough period of the season, right? Because there's a lot of people talking about how they were getting their last rookie off field last week, right? So they're in the luxury season, but chances are they're probably maybe still a bit light on. So maybe they, for those teams, they could consider trading a Sarong. Teams that are more at the pointy end of the season where they have got pretty decent 23rd premiums. Then these are the kind of players onto.
Yeah. So go Sydney, then Hawthorn. So that's obviously maybe or something like that. So not great, but yeah, I actually don't mind the trade. I think what Sarong be priced at? What's he going to be priced at? 1.04. He won't move in price, but make yourself 110, 120k even going to maybe Butters. I was going to say Butters, but he dropped an 80 on the weekend. But like Dunkley, obviously pumped to 120 before the buy. A lot of people won't be able to do it, right? But yeah, if you want to get aggressive, get away from Tay, maybe even go sideways to Caldwell, who won't get tagged, that's something that you could definitely potentially look at doing. Was there any other scores? I think that was pretty much almost it from the game. So Sarong was there. Tyree scored a 48. He was really good. I think he equaled the record for spoils.
Yeah, 14.
I think you're a player. So
14 spoils.
He was very, very good. Just didn't put the fantasy up, but hey, 48 makes a little bit of cash there. And obviously, Jack Carroll scored a 0, and he obviously was a sub. How much game time did he play? 16%. Yeah, actually, it reminded me of that as we finished up all the games as well. Don't know if you boys saw. Do you guys see Tom Lynch from Richmond? No, firstly, he's a grub. We know this, and that was a dirty act that he did on Jordan Butts. Hope he gets 3+ weeks, but he was on -15 at halftime, which is the lowest fantasy score, I think, since 2020. I think Jaiden was the one that tweeted out. -15 at halftime. I've never seen it before. Obviously, we haven't seen it before, but it's ridiculous. I didn't think we'd ever see it, but yeah.
Crazy. A lot of my group chats are going -15. He's losing points.
Yeah, exactly.
It may be in a keeper league or something. You're losing points.
Yeah, exactly. Beautiful. All righty. Well, we'll wrap up there because we are at sort of just under the hour mark, and we'll sort of go through what our trades are, or what our thoughts are anyway. But obviously, we won't worry about answering questions tonight. Apologies we've got some questions here, but a lot of chat, a lot of people chatting with each other in the group chats, which is good. So thank you guys for tuning in. But obviously Tuesday, we'll be answering all your questions there. But if you do want a guaranteed answer in the meantime, or you'd like a team review, or would just like to help support us at the AFL Fantasy Fanatics, you can head to our Patreon, patreon.com/AFL Fantasy Fanatics. So if you'd like to head over there, that would be, we'd love to have as many there as we can. Cool. Jordy, what are you potentially looking at? Actually, no, I will answer this because Will did ask me this on a watch long. He is asking when your next gig in Adelaide is, because I know he wanted to check you out, your music out. So when is the next gig in Adelaide? Because I know you're sort of flying somewhere later in the week, but when's the next one in Adelaide?
Yes, I'll be in Cairns for 2 weeks. So the next one it'll be on the 18th of July. Down at Seacliff. So I'll probably post that on socials. If you're 18th July. So a couple of weeks will be the next one.
Yeah, there you go. Will, make sure you check it out. And anyone else that would like to go check out Jordy, he's obviously pretty good with the vocals and pretty good with the guitar. So, make sure you check him out. But yes, Jordy, your potential trades, obviously, you're like me. You would have been thinking about your trades Thursday, Friday, Saturday, even today. What are you thinking and potentially doing with your moves?
Yeah, I've started planning. So I haven't actually got, depending on rookies, I don't actually have a red dot. So I've only got Boyd. So that's if, Johnson and stuff play, which I assume they do. I do have Bustling as a red dot, but he locks out Thursday night. So I think one of my trades, I'll be trading into a red dot. I might look at a defender forward or a defender mid. And that should give me about 200K. And then I can do some looping with McCarthy. He's my 23rd. And then I'm thinking about using that money and upgrading Rankin. I was just a bit disappointed with him today. And I've got Bailey Smith in my midfield, so I can actually trade Rankin to anyone in any position. So I'm looking at, Tom Green. I think Bales, you were keen on him. I haven't ruled out bringing back Whitfield if he's named against West Coast. Do I go for a Caldwell, as you said, or a Goulden? So I need to play around, but that's sort of what I'm looking at the moment.
Yep, I like it, mate. And obviously for everyone out there, it's disappointing because I was waiting for you to say, what's your third trade? But we're back to two. We're back to two trades. So we're back to normality next week. Guesty, I know you said you're sort of going to think, but any thoughts of who might go for you and maybe someone you might want to bring in?
Yeah, well, look, my initial plans were going to be something like a Nick Madden to a Vicentini, which would then allow me to take a Zach Johnson all the way up to a 940K primo, which then would allow me to loop Callum Mills with Tom McCarthy as my 22nd premium. Depending on what happens with Sheasel, I might have to do a sideways with Sheasel, and then even still, I'll probably be able to get, because I've got a stack of cash in the bank, I'll probably be able to get Zach Johnson up to like a Sam Flanders or something like that, and then I'll probably, I'll have to figure out who I'm looping there, whether it's a Sam Flanders, probably still a Callum Mills, but yeah, I'll still be able to use Tom McCarthy to loop there.
Yeah, I like it. And then mine, I think, the smart play will be Boxall to a Rouston, who I don't have to get that cash gen going, and then going a Ned Long up to Tom Green. I like Tom Green's run from remainder of the year. I think Finn Callahan back for Tom Green as well is a really big help. Less pressure on him. The tags will go to Finn Callahan, meaning Tom Green can do his thing. But obviously, I really like Jai Caldwell and also Errol Goulden. So if there's any rumor that Sheasel's going to be at all limited, I'm potentially maybe even to go off early. And whether I can go maybe Caldwell and Tom Green from Ned Long and Sheasel, that would be what I like to do, bolster that midfield. Because I still think, even though the mids have been struggling, I've only got Dawson, Brayshaw, Dacos, and Bont, who I'd consider those midfield primos. I'd still need a few of those guys that got those ceilings. So I might try and target some of those guys as well. But also like Sam Flanders if I'd like to go for an extra premium to maybe loop with a couple of guys. But that is what I'm looking at doing. And that will wrap us up for another round review. But Jordy, mate, thank you for jumping on once again, mate. Where can the people find you across the socials?
Yeah, just Jordan DeSena on X or Instagram, Spotify, any of those platforms.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you for jumping on, mate. No, we won't catch you on Tuesday night, but might be able to catch you Friday or Sunday or one of the 2 days. But we'll chat to you obviously very soon. Guesty, where can the people find you?
Tim Guest AU, although no Spotify for me, mate. you won't hear the dulcet tones of Guesty on Spotify.
Or do we have to give you a couple of shots like people have been asking me to do the last few nights to maybe hear some vocals from Guesty? Maybe that's
maybe that's what the people want, is to hear me sing.
Oh, we'd love to hear it. And you can find me at BAILSDT across the socials, and us at AFL Fantasy Fans on Twitter. We'll be back, obviously, on Tuesday night for our Q&A, as always, 8 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Perth time. And then all the usual content is coming out. And I'm looking forward to recording my own team review, round review that goes on YouTube tomorrow. So if you'd like to hear me, maybe be a bit happy, a bit up and about, because it's been a tough year. So I'll be enjoying this one. We'll be having a couple of... don't know if I'll be having a shot or anything, but I might enjoy a good old glass of cold Coke once we've recorded this. So looking forward to that. If you haven't liked the video, smash a big thumbs up on the video. It does really help us out. And also subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already. We're trying to go towards 5,000 subscribers now. That is our next big goal. So if you can help us reach that, that'd be fantastic. And we'll catch you guys on Tuesday night for our Q&A. So thanks, everyone. Have a good night. See ya.